Welcome to the Hansen Brothers podcast. I'm Timmy and joined by my brother Kevin. We are teammates and world champions in rallycross. This podcast is our space to catch up while traveling the motorsport world. Hello and welcome to the Hansen Brothers podcast. Okay.
Now we're in the mood.
Yeah. Today we will be talking about money, racing and sponsorship. We've also kicked off a new project since last week's episode about esports and got a fun little thing to tell you there. But first up, let's congratulate our two new world champions in motorsport.
Yeah, really, really good. And also MotoGP world champion not long ago, Jorge Martin. We got Max Verstappen, world champion, Thierry Neuville. The Red Bull family has absolutely dominated the motorsport world this year. And it's just great to see. I mean, Thierry, we know since a long time. We worked with him on the cross karts. Such a lovely guy. He's been in WRC for so many years and never quite got there. Like, you know, he was like the always number two guy, and now finally has secured a world championship.
Yeah, and it's so cool how they did it. Like, they've changed a lot of things in the team, but also how he has stuck with Hyundai for such a long time. Thierry has always believed in the team's always believed in him, and now eventually they got that world title. I think it was like 5 times runner-up before, so it's always been right there. And it was very dramatic how it ended. He broke down, he had an engine issue in the first day, and Oit, who was the only one who could challenge him for the title, was finally leading the rally, but crashed out in the end. And when Thierry found out, then yeah, he knew he was world champion, and they celebrated. I think it's a lifelong dream for him, and congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, you know how it is to become a world champion. It must be a magical feeling.
It is magic. I mean, it is the dream. I think especially that first title, like, I have done it, you know? Like, I've said I would do this. I have done it. That's an incredible feeling.
Is it less epic than you can imagine? Like before you have gone, obviously I'm not there yet. We're team world champions, but not yet the driver. How is it? Is it less or is it more incredible than you believe when you're, because you fought so long for Formula One and all of that, but you never really catched all the way. But then in rallycross, you got that world title. What is the feeling? I'm curious.
It's more epic. I think it's so, like, it's everything you believe, and also it's reality. It's like it's your dream, but you're awake and it's happened. That's an unbelievable feeling. And when you put, I'm sure it's the same in business or in life in general as well. You know, when you've worked years and years to try and achieve your goal, and that finally happens, that is unbelievable. But sports is a very special area where, you know, it kind of happens by surprise in a way. Like, it takes you by shock. You have to perform on that day. You say you win a Olympic gold or whatever, or whichever field you're in. It's a magical feeling. And I remember how we celebrated with that big van with the massive speakers behind. We played We Are the Champions in the garage. We went out all night celebrating.
It was cool. Man, that was a crazy hot spot. We were on the tables doing tequila shots, all sorts, until 2-3 a.m. in Cape Town that year. That was happy. I think I've seen a lot on TikTok and stuff that Max was flat out on the beers and drinks in his Yeti cups during the Vegas after party. I think he was quite stoked with his 4th title. I mean, huge congrats to him.
Yeah, I mean, he's been so dominant, Max Verstappen, over the last couple of years. That one season with Hamilton Verstappen is obviously his first one, and it was hugely controversial, but then he became a world champion that day. But then he's had two kind of, I don't want to say easy because it's the wrong word, but
it's never easy.
But he's been dominant. That's the right word. I think he's been dominant for 2 seasons, and this year when McLaren caught up and he was really challenged at the end, that puts a whole nother level of pressure on you, and you need to deliver when you don't have that comfort gap behind to the next rival. And he still managed to pull it out. I mean, his drive in Brazil was absolutely legendary, coming from almost last to first, and now in Vegas. Isn't it the best place also to be world champion, Las Vegas?
It must be. It's like you can't ride it. It's like world champion Las Vegas, on a Saturday night. There is 150,000 people there ready to celebrate with you. I'm sure he was a little bit sore in the head flying to Doha the other day. But I mean,
Do you
who
think
cares?
he put his whole bonus on black or red? Would you put it on black or red?
I would put it on red. Red is my favorite color. It would be epic. Imagine he walks into a casino and goes, bonus, stray on red. Let's see it then.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did a little bit of a bet, but yeah, I think he deserves a little bit of a gamble, and he's well deserved the champion. And Jorge Martin also in MotoGP, another rebel guy, independent team, which I think is just like us. We're independent compared to manufacturer, and he won that title. Really, really cool. So a lot of great champions in motorsport these days, and also a lot of them coming down to the wire, which I think is really, really cool. There's a peak of motorsport right now, which I'm really enjoying, which is really cool. So also for people watching, we're actually in the same room today. Just 2 meters apart, so we're not on the other side of the world. This podcast is, a space for us to, when we travel the world, to be having a conversation. But now we're on the same place. I've been in Sweden since Thursday or something. We went to Ted's baptism yesterday. So super nice to be home.
Yeah, it's nice to see you here also. It's like normal when you're here, but obviously we miss you when you're not here. The daily routine of being in the workshop and doing everything that we do. But you do your job from the UK or wherever you're traveling. I'm trying to be here as much as I can because obviously my kids live here and my wife is here. But yeah, your home is the world right now.
Yeah,
but it's nice when you come back home.
Yeah, it's nice to be home, and Sweden is always home. But like I said, there's a lot of opportunities especially in London with meetings and meeting people. And my job, for people that don't know, I'm sure you may have seen on LinkedIn if you're on there, that I run the sponsorship side of things at Hansen Motorsport. So it's good for me to be there.
Yeah, and talking about sponsorship, and that is your job. Let's move into that topic of the day, because we want to discuss how racing is run, and kind of the elephant in the room in every scenario is how do you find the money? Let's talk about that. Money, racing, and sponsorship. It's a massive topic within the world of motorsport. How do you find the money? Racing cars is damn expensive, and in this company, in this house, that is your main job, Kevin. So, we wanted to invite the listeners into that world and into what's going on. So, first of all, tough question: what does it cost to drive the World Rallycross Championship?
It's not cheap. I think you have to get maybe a minimum of for one car at least 600k or so. I would imagine it's a good one. I'm not going to say what our budgets are on. I mean, I think is looking at different teams and so, and a private team and so. I think you can do it for about 600. So it's very expensive to race in motorsport. Obviously, I'm a driver also, but sponsorship has always been a passion. Designing cars and marketing. I went to designer school in college, and it's always been a big passion. That's what sparked my life towards that. And I think I always got inspired by our father doing business as well. So it is not cheap, and I'm sure there's a lot of people around motorsport around this time, also a year where you're kind of, okay, season is done, we need to go into the next one. You have your goals, your targets, what do you want to achieve, what do you want to do, and it's the same for us. And I think it's very interesting topic to race, because it's not something people speak about most times.
It's not, but it's something that everybody knows is absolutely vital to be able to race in a season. So for our younger audience here, maybe trying to raise their budget right now to go racing in 2025, they've finished the season right now. Do you have any advice, or can you invite them to a little bit how are you working in this team to find the sponsorship that we got?
I mean, you have to look at what is your strengths and what is your assets, what are you able to sell, and also look at other people, what are they offering, take inspiration from activations around the world. I think basically you have some assets. Like for us, a great asset is branding, because there's a lot of awareness in using branding on cars. the drivers, the team, our mechanics, all the equipment around in the paddock, on the racetrack. There's a lot of branding opportunity because there's a lot of TV coverage with this as branding, and the media rights and the worth of that is obviously super, super high. Which, the worth is millions and millions thanks to the World Rallycross packages that we have. So that's a great asset. Then you also have us, the drivers, being media appearances, connecting to the sponsors, doing activations, which is also the third thing. Going into the activations, what can you do with your sponsor that, connects their world with your world, and that relevance, and creating maybe a day where you bring out your partners to a track day so they can experience your part, or maybe you go to them and experience, okay, let's say you say for Red Bull, let's say they wanted to show how do you make cans. Okay, let's bring the athletes there, showcase through our words, how do they produce their cans, and bring a light to that, how sustainable that is, and what they are doing to minimize, let's say, spillage and so on, what the great strengths of their production. And those things, you have to look at, what can you do for the sponsor in connection with your racing, and what is your assets. And that, I think, is a good starting point, because then you can patch that together into packages and pitch that to sponsors, whatever, then what their strengths are in money wise. Maybe there is a smaller sponsorship on the table, so you have to manage that amount and what you give. And maybe there's a big company, and then obviously you can go a bit more tough and say, we can make a lot of activations, you can get a lot of branding. So you have to also listen to the partners. What are their opportunities? What are they capable of doing? What are they looking for? And then you can start a conversation.
And how do you do that packaging? Because there's obviously the main sponsor on the car, but then there are also on every race car smaller stickers, and there's a ladder there. How do you define that ladder?
For me, I've looked a lot on TV broadcasters and, almost timing how much screen time does each part of the car get. So obviously the front of the car, you always want to see the front. So the front is a lot more valuable, than the roof, because the roof is not so often on TV. So you can kind of get, okay, let's say 50% of the time on TV is the front of the car. Then 50% of the worth of your budget should be also patched into those logos. Let's say there's 3 spaces. Okay, 50% of the budget split on 3 places. Then you get 3 locations, which is the worth. And that's how I do. I'm sure there's other ways, maybe better, maybe worse. That's at least how I have done it with our team. And it's a good starting point. But obviously then some people want a lot of content, but you still want that little connection with the car when you bring guests out, because maybe that's the second part. They want to bring guests out, do activation, guest. But then it's good to have a little branding on the car, just to showcase, reality check, like there is a logo on this car. It connects their company and they make you feel proud. So that's also another point. But I'm also sure, like, how tough it is to collect sponsorship. It's takes so much time. It's very demanding. And, we touched that on the last episode. Also the dark side of not securing it and not being able to reach your goal. I mean, that was what you experienced back in the Formula days.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I don't really work with sales or sponsorship anymore, because I hit the wall there. I burned out, and that was not because I worked too many hours. It was because of not achieving what I had set out to do. And in my single-seater ladder, or my career, while driving our Formula 1, I got to about, in today's terms, Formula 4 level. In my days, it was called Formula Renault. And a season of that was approximately 200,000 euros, with a good deal from the team, with testing included and so on. Every team needs like a strong driver in that category that will do some good results. And I was able to get, a reduced price because they believed in me a little bit, and some testing included, for example. And I had sponsors to cover those 200,000 euros. But then after a while, it was time to move on. I couldn't keep being at the Formula 4 level. I had to go into Formula 3. And then the price tag there was 600,000 plus testing.
It's the same like World Rallycross today. It's like, let's say 600,000. Then you only get Formula 3. Yeah, it just shows how mad the Formula racing world has become.
And the problem there is that most of these things that you say we're selling now for with TV rights and visibility and all that doesn't really exist in Formula 3. If you're really honest, like there is not much TV, not many people watch it on TV. Like people watch Formula 1, maybe Formula 2. but the relation between what it costs and the value of the championship is absolutely off. So during that winter, trying to secure a seat in Formula 3, I went on some tests and so on. I wasn't able to do it, and then I hit the wall. Like, I thought my career was over. But yeah, that is the dark side of motorsport. But I think if you look at other sports, sometimes in motorsport we feel sorry for ourselves that it's so expensive, and if only I was a runner, I would only have to buy shoes. But for them, it's injury, which is that dark part of the sport, injury or illness. In motorsport, we can touch wood, but injuries are very rare thanks to the FIA and all the safety that exists. So we don't really get injured. So as long as we can continue, it's only, if you say that,
only money
that you need, which is why this is such an interesting topic. And going into a new season now, Kevin, and trying to settle the different deals, what are your priorities in this stage? Like, it's now end of November 2024, and you are looking into season 25. What are you working on at this very moment?
Well, we have already for months done outreach to any possible company that we believe is a right fit, that can benefit of working in rallycross with the Hansen team. Swedish, international, American, doesn't matter. It's across the globe where there's a market that they can benefit from. And also, obviously, very global companies, because we're a global championship. And that's been going on for months. And now you're getting into the period where it's end of November, budgets have been set by companies, some maybe are still defining a few. So it's really the time to get that contact, to be on their radar. And then you need to go into the next couple of months now where you need to get the deal done. Because in the end of the day, even if they're budgeted activations and sponsorship, they need to be convinced that this is the right way forward. So now it's really, we have almost like a list of companies that are very interested, and we're now trying to work with them to define what should their sponsorship package be. Are we able to come to a point where both parties are happy? Because in the end, there's no good partnership without both parties being happy. Then it's just, in my opinion, we do partnerships in Hansen Motorsport. We don't do sponsorships, because sponsorship for me is giving and not receiving much back. That's just sponsorship. There is a lot of almost like support, but we do partnerships where both sides should be really happy. And in the end of the day, companies that we work with, the goal is for them to make more money. Otherwise, it is not a good strategy. So we're in the stages of locking down those further partnerships. A lot of positive things coming. I mean, we've had a couple of difficult years, but we see that increase in interest, and I'm really positive. It's a fun time, but in the end, before you have anything signed, it is a lot of pressure on the racetrack, a lot of pressure in work, which is really fun.
Yeah, and the last thing in this topic to discuss, I think, is Red Bull. They have been a partners of ours since the start of 2014, so it's now 11 full seasons that we've been partnered by Red Bull. And I just want to say from my side, they have been the most incredible support. We see them all over sports in all these different disciplines, and like what they give to the world of sports or extreme sports is you can't compare it to anything else. It's unbelievable, and they keep believing in you. Like, once they decide to go with an athlete or with a team, like, the trust that you get is absolutely incredible. And without Red Bull, we wouldn't be here today. But of course, they are also a company, and they are looking to
make profit from our partnership,
receive more than they put in. So what do you think is the main thing that Red Bull is after while sponsoring our team or working with our team?
I think we're sitting right here. I think the Hansen partnership,
the podcast is it.
The podcast, yeah.
Is a peak.
The peak of our partnership. This is also another part of this partnership, which is just incredible. But I think it's us, the great story behind two brothers conquering the world in motorsport. It is not many opportunities or marketing platforms that there is like that in the world. Marquez brothers and Drift brothers, they start not to be too many. So we're a rare occasion in the world of sports, and I'm just so excited that we are able to do all these cool things. I mean, there is no company in the world like Red Bull that does so many activations, events, stunts. There is your mind isn't even the limit. The the universe is the limit with Red Bull, which is so incredible. And we just keep doing more and more activations, which is incredible with all that we do. And we've done some Formula One activations, and we keep doing more and more plans for the future.
When you say the sky is the limit, but they actually brought the guy beyond the sky into space to jump from space because he had the idea. And also they do a lot that is not on camera, that gets like not a big recognition. But when you broke your back in Saudi Arabia, was it 21?
2022. I mean, again, exactly. When there's a partnership with an athlete, it is through thick and thin. And the injury that I had, I broke my 7th vertebra in my back, and directly Red Bull support down to the APC, which is the Athlete Performance Center, do all the training, physio, scans. I mean, to not only be there when you in your great days, they invest in you as an athlete when you're in the darkest moments. And without that support from them and the partnership that we've had for so long, and that journey through that injury, I would not have come back to motorsport as strong as I am now, which is again incredible that a partner like that can achieve those things. And it's just like, it's hat off to a unbelievable company that has defined motorsport, I think. And sponsorship, it's tough in the world of motorsport, but Red Bull is one of those that we are so proud of activating and presenting and racing with.
Now for the final topic of the day, we discussed last time that we want to do some more esports, and we got a project lined up. A new esports project, because it's winter and not much is happening. So how do you get some miles in you during this time of year? I actually caught up with Josep, our engineer from Rallycross. He's also working with me in the boat racing. That's where we met, and now he's also in the Rallycross team. But he is actually working, Josep Carbonell, he is actually a professional esports engineer. And after he heard our podcast last time, he said, I got a great idea for you. Let's do a project together where we jump into it, and then we can share to the world what is the relationship between a driver and an engineer. Because it's something you thank your engineers, you say how hard they work. And what we want to do with this esports project is we want to try to climb the ladder in iRacing to get into a race called Roar to Daytona, the 12th of January. I would need to achieve a D-level license. I'm not familiar at all with this world, right? But the idea and the content behind that we want to share, I think I will stream on Twitch and so, will be to work on setup. So you will learn about setups in your simulator if you are into esports. But B, I think the relationship driver to engineer will be the exact same in the virtual environment or in the real environment. So we want to kind of open that up and show to everybody, how do you work with an engineer, and maybe to the young drivers out there, like what kind of feedback does a driver need to give to your engineer to allow them to make a good job.
And I'm sure there's so many people that is wondering things that are young drivers in motorsport or maybe in motorcycles or whatever place there may be where there's an engineer, or maybe in esports. I'm sure there's many people wondering, how does a professional racing driver like you work with an engineer? And if there's any questions for Timmy that they're wondering, please let us know in the comments. I really look forward to this because it's such a broad spectrum. I mean, obviously we've been lucky to work with Porsche in the past, doing a big development on a car. Then there is 10 engineers around you wanting information from, as our constructor said back in the sensor, which is the driver. It's going to be super interesting to see. What do you think would be the most aha moment for people watching?
I think a lot of people who do esports and so is kind of afraid maybe to touch these toggles of setting the car up. It looks like an infinite possibility with all these in esports. It's just a slider. In real life, you actually have to take things apart and put them back together.
That's where the mechanics comes in.
Yeah, exactly. But no, just I think to break down like what does what. Like if I have understeer somewhere and I explain it to Josep, the engineer, then he will be able to go in, he will look at the data, and then he will be able to tell me, I say my feeling, that is the key. I say my feeling, I have understeer in this corner. Maybe he looks at the data and he just says, no, you're driving like crap. That's why you have understeer. Or
most of the time.
most of the time is that. Or it can also be, setup of the car, like, oh, because it's in this position, it's mid corner, and you don't have any load here, we need to adjust the roll bars, for example.
And this they see through all the sensors, both on the race car, but also in the simulator. Let us know in the comments if you want to hear more from Joseph on Timmy's esports and what other project he's been. I mean, I can't wait to see what this project is gonna bring, and maybe I can even find some of your tricks you will share in that, so I can pick up a few things that maybe you have had a little secret from me over the years.
Yeah, maybe. So let us know in the comments what you'd like to see, or if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. I mean, we've just started out. This was our 3rd episode so far, and we're finding our way. But thanks to the listeners, we're hopefully, finding our feet, and we try to listen to you and the content that you want to hear. So press that subscribe button, and we speak to you soon.